Hello, 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 and welcome to Everyday Sent. My name is Dave Kruse, and I am your host. We are here to explore what does it mean to live sent, and First Baptist wants to help you figure all that out. We are in week 3 of a 4-week series exploring our mission. And so our mission is to live sent, following Jesus and inviting others to come along. And today I am joined by none other than Nathan Taylor, our Associate Pastor of Missions. Welcome, Nathan.
Glad to be here.
Glad you are here. And so, Nathan, we're going to assume the majority of the people listening have some idea of who you are, but there's probably a couple. No clue who you are. You're that guy, you're just out and about regularly. You have this personality that is outgoing and friendly, but maybe someone just hasn't had that chance to say, who is this guy? So take 30 seconds. Give us a quick bio of Nathan Taylor.
I am the husband of Ashley, the dad Delaney, very energetic 8-year-old going on 28.
Nice.
And love Starkville. We've been here almost 20 years. December will be exactly 20 years. So
20 years in the great city of Starkville.
starting to sound like a minute.
That's just a hot minute. And so you've been on staff for 17-ish?
I think that's right.
Somewhere in there, 17 to 20 years. We're not exactly sure.
There you go.
So, so we asked Nathan to come be a part of this. He has a passion for engaging people. He obviously sends people across our country and the world, but he also does a lot of engaging people here in our city, our town. Is Starkville a town or a city?
Probably town.
Probably more of a town. We'll go with that. But, we'll call it a city occasionally. And so part of his role is to help us think through how do we engage the people around us. And part of our mission is inviting people. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it would be great for us to have that conversation, one, because your heart bleeds that way, but also you put it into practice on a regular basis. I often hear you talking about, we had these people over, or I'm going out here with this person. I see you out and about in town a lot having lunches with people. So obviously, engaging and inviting people is a natural part of who you are. You're pretty comfortable with it. So love to pick your brain about this a little bit, because not everyone is that way, me included in that. And so help us understand, Nathan, why is the act of inviting people so important in terms of engaging people with the gospel or having a spiritual impact on somebody?
We're built for community.
Yes.
I mean, we see that. Community is all across Scripture from cover to cover, and it's imprinted on who we are. So that's just who we are. Certainly, there's extroverts, there's introverts, and we engage with people differently.
Yes.
And we're energized by people differently.
Yes.
You and I would probably be a pretty a polar opposite.
I would say
that.
exactly
and
yes.
That's okay.
It is.
And
You're the introvert, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Totally.
But a large part of who I am is just I want to make an impact.
Yeah.
And impact families, impact people around us, and invite other people into community.
Yeah. So let's lean into that for just a few minutes. So you talked about the difference in people. You talked about, making an impact. Let's start with this reality of does not matter, introvert, extrovert, anything like that. We all have a responsibility for engaging people with the gospel. It's part of, if you're a follower of Jesus, go make disciples. Mm-hmm. We're all given that command. So let's think about that from those two polar ends, introvert, extrovert. Approach it a little differently. How would you encourage someone who is an introvert, which I know you're not, but you work with people who are. How would you encourage that introvert to maybe think through, how do I take my introversion and make that a tool for engaging someone? And then how would you help an extrovert who maybe they're so outgoing, they're maybe not as intentional? Like I would think an introvert is, if I'm making that effort, I'm going to be intentional. Sure. So maybe they're not as forthgoing as they need to be. And that extrovert is probably a little more, I just love everybody, and I'm not intentional in thinking through that. How would you approach both those folks with encouragement?
For the introvert, you're probably not going to be up on a platform, not going to be just loud and proud just in your engagement, but just start in your normal orbit, your normal circles, and it might be in your neighborhood, might be in your workplace. It could just be taking a step out to visit with engage with the person on the pew in front of you on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I know I've seen quite a few people who they're not going to go around like some of our greeters, just greeting people, but they take that opportunity to engage with the person in front of them.
Yeah, and you said it at the beginning, we're all wired for community. We're created for community. God has made us that way. And we've talked about that on previous episodes. But within that, part of being human is we want to be known and we want to know others.
Sure.
And so that community allows that to happen. As we think through that, that sometimes can be a bit of a challenge, right? What do you mean? I need to know people and they need to know me. How do we develop this mindset or this ability to what do we let people in? How do we open that door to let people in such a way that it's not like, hey, I'm exposing all my deep dark secrets, but it's more than just this shallow, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
You know, and you get the I'm great, and that may not be true. So
this is an example, and if I don't answer your
it's
direct
great.
question, follow up with this. But an example from just this past Sunday, there was a couple who's real involved with our church. He's probably a little more extroverted than she is, but they engaged with the younger female in front of them at the 11 o'clock service, and she was out of state freshman. They ended up inviting her to lunch.
Yes.
And so that's just a simple way. Free food to college students, that
Speaks volumes.
That speaks a lot of volumes. So that's just a simple way of that was right there in front of them.
Right. And I would imagine in that conversation, we don't know, we haven't followed up with them to see how that went. I'm hoping it went well. Within that, I would say the conversation was probably a little more just, hey, we're getting to know each other. Probably not starting out with, hey, what's the biggest challenge you have in your life? What's your biggest sin? You know, here's what we're struggling with, that kind of stuff. And so I would talk to folks, especially introverts who are like, I want to be extremely intentional and I'm very reserved in what I say. Hey, it's okay to start slow.
Sure.
It's okay to start shallow, but you got to move beyond that at some point. And so as the relationship forms, well, I guess maybe that's my question. How do we help the relationships that we're forming as we're inviting people in, as we're trying to engage them with the gospel? How do we help move those conversations from the just, hey, how are you, to the, hey, how are you?
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's certainly levels. And like you said, it's not going to be like, hey, Dave, how you doing? Let me tell you about my heroin addiction when I was 16.
That's right.
That was a total hypothetical.
I was about to say, is that legit here?
No, I was too good of a Baptist kid to
There you go.
do heroin in Jones County. So it does take time, but you do have to take advantage and take those steps as you move into a relationship with people. So it's just baby steps. And as you have conversation beyond the weather in Mississippi State sports, you start telling your story.
Yeah.
And a big part of me and Ashley is we moved here 20 years ago to open a fish and seafood restaurant.
That's right.
I call that my 3.5-year hobby. We lost all our money in that. And that's just a part of our story. We dealt with infertility. I guess technically still deal with infertility. Sure. So we're really open about that. So as I've been in college ministry, we've been in college ministry for most of our ministry here, all except for 8 months. We've been open with students about that. Yeah. So, and some people are like, oh my gosh, they said that out loud. Yeah. But that's just who we are. So we're open about faults. And that was one thing that we always talk to our college volunteers is have a healthy transparency. Yes. And that just opens the door for the volley back with the people.
Yeah, and I think that's you've hit on two elements I think that I want to point out a little bit. One, hey, take them to lunch. That's hospitality.
Sure.
Hospitality is huge. Now, we're not saying you got to go open your house doors and let everyone into your living room, but you think about it, when you let someone into your metaphorical living room, it becomes a lot more comfortable. Like, hey, I can settle in, I can be a little more of myself. I don't like, but if you're only standing in the front foyer, well, you just know, hey, I'm just here for a short time.
Sure.
And I'm borrowing terminology from Andy Stanley and how they approach church at North Point and all that. But it's true. So you come to my house, I only let you in the front door, the foyer. You know you're not staying long.
Sure.
But if we invite you into that living room or even the kitchen, you know, hey, we're about to be here for a little bit longer, that kind of stuff. So think through as you're engaging folks, how do you help have the metaphorical living room and the metaphorical kitchen, even if all you're doing is going to nukes?
Sure.
How do you help set that up? The other thing that you just said that I think was super good, storytelling. So let's talk about storytelling, because we all have a story, whether we want to admit it or not. Some of us were 16-year-old heroin addicts. Some of us were not. Some of us did do business. Some of us have not. But you have a story. And so I think, how do we have a transparent story like you just talked about without being without it becoming a therapy session,
Sure.
right? Because if I'm a new person, I don't want to become your therapist.
Right.
I'm not professional like that. And two, I probably don't care enough as an introvert at this moment,
Yeah.
maybe down the road. How do we develop that transparency without it becoming too much too fast?
For us, our goal was to just let the Lord and His work shine.
Yeah.
And so, how losing all your money sounds like a terrible thing. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Okay.
So God really worked through that.
That's
and,
right.
I was greedy, and that was a wrecking ball to my greed. When you don't have any money, it's kind of hard to rely on.
That's right.
The greenback. So, and then, so just sharing. Not the woe is me. We lost all our money. We can't have a biological child. But it's like how does God work through that? So that's a filter we think through a lot.
And so definitely need to explore those things. So everybody has a story. Do you have anything that you would tell people? Here's how you identify your moments of your story. Like we similar to you all, we have some milestone moments in our story. Now, you and I are over the age of 40, both of us. So we've had a little more life experience. Right. I'm thinking about maybe that 20-ish-year-old or even a high schooler or, elementary age person who doesn't have as much life experience yet. How do we help them identify these are the things that help point people towards God? Any insights on that one?
Seeing those spiritual markers, I mean, it might be salvation.
Yeah.
The Lord saved me when I was 12. And knowing that was a monumental change in life. And it may not be a huge just darkness to light, but seeing that, or just the fact that maybe you grew up in a home with a mom and dad that loved you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something to brag about.
In this culture, it
yes,
is.
For sure.
There's a lot that don't have that.
There is blessing in your life, and find ways to highlight God and brag on Him because of that.
Yeah, and what I've discovered in my journey is normally other people see it if I don't. And so, maybe you're sitting there going, I don't know what my moments are. Who are those people that in your life that can help identify them with you?
Right.
Who can say, well, you don't see it this way, but here's God moving in this moment in your life. So definitely I would say we need to be finding the storytelling side of things. The flip side of storytelling is listening. Right? Sure. That's a huge part of what we need to be doing. So before we jump into listening, I think what we have to think through, though, is how do we identify people who might be open to being engaged? Like, you're much better at this than I am. I just assume everybody wants to be left alone. That's just kind of how I operate. You don't want me to bother you. You seem to operate on everybody wants me to get to know them a little better. And so, again, we're on different ends of the spectrum here. How do you kind of go, hey, let me think through how do I find someone who might be open to connecting?
Well, not everybody wants to have a conversation with a Baptist minister.
Yeah,
and
surprising, isn't that?
It's a shocker. Friday night football games, there are some people who would much rather just go lean against the goalpost than chat with them.
Then lick a battery post
That's
or something.
Right, yes, exactly. So if you happen to be listening to that and you walked away from me on Friday night, I'm not thinking about you. I'm thinking very generally.
This isn't a specific moment that just happened.
So that's just over the course of 17 years, I've had that a time or two. So
if only a time or two, that's good.
Yeah, that's right. So thinking about just who are people to have these engagements with, I think about just simple spiritual conversations, just those intro of what's your church involvement, what's your faith story, how did you grow up, and just growing from there. First off, just having any kind of spiritual conversation is walking through a different door. We're talking about different levels.
Yes.
So just how do people engage with that?
Yeah.
Is it surface? Is it, well, I went on a mission trip when I was in 10th grade. I went to Guatemala. Ask about that.
Yeah.
I mean, just follow-up questions. People are going to talk about what, this is probably your next question. I might be
we'll
robbing
see.
from that.
No, it's all good.
But people are going to talk about what's important.
Exactly.
Those are just things to ask, just some simple questions about faith and church.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of times it's, hey, how can we identify those points of commonality? So maybe it is sports. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's, hey, we grew up in similar areas. So for me, it's a lot of question asking of, let me hear a little bit more of your story. Oh, there's our
Yeah.
point of commonality. And maybe it's 1 or 2 points. For me, it's usually once I find those, that's the path I'm going to follow that hopefully will lead to opportunity. Maybe not immediately, but lead towards some opportunity to speak about spiritual matters
Sure.
and hopefully get to the gospel.
Right.
And so, how fast is too fast? How slow is too slow in your mind in terms of getting to those places?
Not an equation for that, but just a feel thing.
Man,
And
so glad you took that. That was a softball I just threw at you because I was like, please don't put a formula there. So,
A plus B. Um, it's usually going to be faster than we actually go.
Yes.
Because I tend to drag my feet on that.
Yes.
And I think we as Christian society tend to drag our feet on that. So I would say eventually get there sooner than we normally do, which takes practice.
It does. It does. And so I mentioned it. I want to go back to it. Listening. How do we develop that habit of listening? Because let's be honest, a lot of times when we talk, we want to talk about ourselves because it's easy to talk about ourselves. How do we develop that habit of listening for that person so they can talk about themselves?
Right. I'd say ask good questions, number one, and actually listen.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have this one-upmanship mentality of
Yes.
you tell a story about you saw this band and I was backstage with you too during the
Yes.
whatever, and I didn't even listen to the fact that you and Bono hung out. So.
Yeah, yeah, and that's huge right there, isn't it? So many times we're not involved in active listening; it's
Right.
passive listening. Of I'm thinking through what I'm going to say back to
Yep,
you,
exactly.
rather than hearing what you say. So, is it okay if someone says something and you'd be like, "Hey, give me a second, I need to think on that." That's pretty cool.
Sure.
Yeah, totally, totally. All right, so storytelling, active listening, thinking through who to engage, the pace upon which depends on that person, honestly. How quickly can we get to sharing the gospel? Why do we think people are hesitant to share the gospel, to have these gospel conversations? If part of what we're called to do is go make disciples, and our mission is inviting others to come along, why do you think people are hesitant on that?
It's kind of like me in the bench press.
Oh,
I can't bench press a whole lot,
right.
because I don't exercise those muscles.
Okay.
So it's just something we don't practice.
Okay.
I would say that's the number one thing.
So how do we go about getting the reps then?
So we just need, number one, go to the weight room,
Okay, that's good.
and we just need to give it a shot and
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
And say I'm gonna introduce a topic to somebody.
Yeah.
A simple way, and this is just from missionary friends that I go eat with. I'm thinking of specifically one couple, and she's a great missionary,
Yeah.
wonderful evangelist, and she said a few years ago that she's terrified every time she goes to share the gospel. That was so freeing.
Yeah.
That a professional missionary was terrified to share the gospel because she hears the enemy saying, "Oh, they don't have time for that.
Right.
They don't need to hear that."
Yeah.
And so that was quite freeing that I wasn't the only one who felt that.
Yeah.
So at lunch at Nuke's or wherever you're eating, talk to your person bringing you your food in a simple way, which
Yeah.
is a big step out. Some people will laugh at this one, but hey, Dave, thanks for bringing my food. We're about to pray for this. Is there any way we can pray for you?
Sure.
I've done that a bunch of times, and it's amazing what people will tell you.
Yeah.
Now, some people are like, "Nah,
I'm good. Yeah.
that's probably 1 out of 10 though."
Okay.
But it's pretty interesting exercise. So
Yeah.
that's a simple way to do it, and that's a step out for most people.
Yeah, and I'll add 2 thoughts to that. One, you can't talk about that which you don't know. And so, if you're stuck, stalled, stale, whatever word you want to use there in your relationship with Christ, it's hard to talk about. And so, now I'm not saying you got to go have hour-long quiet times, and you don't have. I mean, it would be cool if you did, but you don't have to have places in your floor that your knees have dug out from all the prayer that you're doing. But if there's no spiritual interaction, if there's no attempt at knowing God more, it's hard to talk about Him. I think the other side for it, me and others, is the fear side of it. Hey, what if they get mad at me? What if this doesn't happen? Or, man, I've done this so many times and nothing has ever come about. So for me, one of the most freeing things that ever, like you're a missionary person who said, I've always got fear or scared when I do this. The other side for me is, that's freed me up is it's not my responsibility for the results.
Sure.
That comes from God.
Mm-hmm.
So my responsibility is to be faithful to sharing the gospel, but it's not my responsibility to save somebody. That is the Holy Spirit working. And so he works through my availability, but it's my job to be able to say, hey, let me tell you my story. Let me hear your story. Let me tell you about Jesus. And that's it. At that point, it becomes a God thing. That's freeing for me. So definitely gotta hit the weight room. Gotta be making the reps, making the attempt. Gotta recognize it's a little scary. Gotta recognize they're probably just as scared as I am, honestly.
And a big thing is maybe the restaurant's not your thing.
Right.
But find your
spot.
entry into the weight room.
Yeah. And so as an introvert, it may take you a little while to get there because, it's scary to walk into a new place. As an extrovert, you're probably going, man, I'm here, let's go, and so, but those are stereotypes, let's be honest. And so we just want to encourage folks in that. That's part of what we're called to do as followers of Jesus is to engage people with the gospel. So if you had to give them, here's one resource, someone who's like, I've never really tried to think through how to share the gospel with someone. Do you have one resource you would point them towards that they can easily go find online and, doesn't require, man, I've got to memorize 50,000 scriptures. And what would you recommend?
I mean, learn your story.
Yeah.
And just who you are before Christ, how you met Christ, and then what life after Christ. So
yeah,
everybody's got, every believer has some reason why they became a believer. So for me, I grew up in the church. Sophomore year of college, I was really, really frustrated. Freshman and sophomore year, really, really, really frustrated because I actually saw people serving and following Jesus and going on mission trips, which didn't make any sense because that's when you go make money or go on a vacation. And so I was very frustrated and very just confused.
Sure.
And then the gospel was presented very clearly to me. And since then, I've been really confident. So 30-second testimony. That was more than 30 seconds.
It's okay.
But just like before Christ, everybody's got their negative terms. How you met Christ. There was a moment. Yeah. Junior year in college at what used to be University Commons, room 244.
There
I can
you go.
point to it if you want to. And then life after Christ.
Yeah. And it's not hard. I mean, it's your story.
Yeah.
People can't argue with
your experience.
Yeah, people can't argue with that. Right. They can argue with other things, but not your journey. And so I think let's end with that one. I think that's solid. Figure out your story. If you need help with that, man, we're here to help you with that. Love to talk to you. And so Nathan is fabulous at that. He's an extrovert. He'd love to meet you. I'm the introvert. Come on, I'll let you in slowly, and it'll be great. So it's good. So we want to say it's the end. Nathan, you survived your first episode. It's been good. We want to say thanks for joining us. Thanks for Nathan for joining us. Thanks to you for being here. We will be back next week with another episode of Everyday Sent. We hope you'll come join us.